Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, where today, in this Tier 9 ranked battle, domination mode on the hotspot map, it may initially appear as if Casper TR11 here in the USS Black, it would appear looking at the starting lineup that at the very least he could expect to have a fair and balanced battle. I mean, both teams have one radar, the enemy have the Dmitry Donskoy cruiser, his team have him, the Black, as a destroyer with radar. Both teams have 2 destroyers, 1 cruiser and 3 battleships. The game hasn't done what it normally does and just put all of the radar on one team. Both teams have a radar, both teams have 3 battleships, but since one of those battleships, the USS Nebraska, is a hybrid, it's effectively an extra aircraft carrier on the team, so Casper's team do have a huge advantage here over the enemy. Plus the destroyers that they have are both very definitely gunboats. Something that cannot be said of the Yugamo on the enemy team. The Yugamo is a Japanese torpedo destroyer, and there's normally nothing wrong with having a Yugamo on the team. The torpedoes are very nasty, but in a full random battle with 12 ships per side, the Yugamo actually has targets to work with. In a ranked battle that tends to be over quickly because both teams only have 6 ships to begin with, the Yugamo can struggle to make a difference. So the differences between the 2 teams, while they're not huge, are definitely skewed in the favour of Casper's team. And yet, Casper is going to have to work real hard in order for his team to not successfully manage to throw this. He does have one thing in his favour, however. I mean, aside from the factors that we've already discussed. There is one other person on his team who is actually capable of thinking and breathing at the same time. You'll know it when you see it. Actually, it occurred to me I might have been a little too harsh on the Yugamo. There are 3 battleships for him to launch his torpedoes at, and he does get to... Well, he has the option of taking a torpedo reload booster to make the most of his torpedo armament, which is a very good torpedo armament, but the Yugamo captain has to choose between a smokescreen generator or the torpedo reload booster. And generally, if a player has the option of taking a smokescreen generator or something else, they usually tend to take the smokescreen generator. You see this with the British Tier 10 light cruiser, the Minotaur, which can take radar or smoke. People tend to take the smoke just because it's safer. The Yugamo's biggest nightmare, potentially at least in this battle, is going to be Casper here in the USS Black. Because if he ends up going for the same cap circle as Casper, he'll see Casper first, because the Yugamo has better stealth. But because the Black isn't a particularly common ship, I mean originally the only way to get this ship was by reaching rank 1 in 5 separate seasons of ranked battles. And while some people have memorised and understand the capabilities of every ship in the game, that's not particularly common. And while it isn't unusual for people to know the capabilities of most of the ships that they tend to see on a regular basis in random battles, the Black is not one of those ships. So it would not be surprising if the Yugamo didn't realise how much of a threat this ship poses to him, because the Black is a destroyer with radar. Of course, none of this matters unless the Yugamo actually encounters Casper, in which case he could be in a ton of hurt. Because he's probably taken the smokescreen generator, and if he doesn't know that the Black has radar, he's probably going to try to use the smoke when he sees Casper first, which he will do because the Yugamo has better stealth. Oh, hello, torpedoes. So there's definitely at least one enemy destroyer up here, and the Oyster Yachtland has been spotted over in Cap Circle Charlie, so the Yugamo is definitely over here. He's not within spotting range though, although that's about to be rendered academic as the Dmitry Donskoy over there is a radar cruiser, and Russian radar has very, very long range but short duration, and there it is, he's been radared. He's right at the outer limits of radar detection range though. So, manoeuvring to avoid the fire from the Dmitry Donskoy, which is a very dangerous cruiser if you're in a destroyer, not just because it has radar, but it also has very hard-hitting and relatively rapid-firing guns, but he's managed to avoid taking hits. He is now visually spotted. Unfortunately, because he fired his guns, that doesn't actually give him any further clues as to the location of the Yugamo, because he's fired his guns, so his surface detection range blooms to the range of his guns. So it could be the Dmitry Donskoy who had him visually detected, although it could also be the Yugamo too. Now there's the Oyster Yachtland and the Jean Bart B. 2 enemy ships, by the way, are holding back the entirety of the rest of his team from Cap Circle Charlie. And winning, which means Casper has the other 4 over here, and yep, there's the Yugumo, as well as the Yugumo's torpedoes. Now my question earlier on was, does the Yugumo have the smokescreen generator or the torpedo reload booster? And honestly, we don't really know. Because Casper fires up his smokescreen, and the Yugumo, instead of ducking into cover behind the island there, which he absolutely could have done, chooses violence and gets detonated. So there's one Cap Circle, and sadly it wasn't first blood for Casper. That honour goes to the enemy Osterjotland, who brought torpedoes to a gunfight with the Kitakazi of all things and won. So, yeah. How are... Because it is just 2 enemy ships over there, the Osterjotland and the Jean-Bart B. They are fighting and winning against, well, it was 5 and now it's 4 of Casper's teammates. And between the 2 of them have successfully prevented the entire remainder of Casper's team from flipping that Cap Circle at Charlie. I mean, you can kind of understand why the 3 battleships over there would be nervous about taking on an Osterjotland, because it has extremely fast and fast reloading torpedoes. But you can see him. And one of you is a Nebraska. You're an aircraft carrier, battleship hybrid. How is he not dead? I don't understand. Well, I do understand. This is World of Warships, and if you can't take a joke, you shouldn't be playing. So, Casper, having flipped the Cap Circle at Alpha, is now coming over to assist his teammates, who between the 4 of them, and it was 5, but they lost the Kitakazi, can't handle 1 destroyer and 1 battleship. Casper, I sincerely hope you packed your weightlifting belt consumable, because you're probably going to have to start carrying some very, very heavy teammates here. Oh, wow, there's torpedo... Wow, he hit the Iowa. They weren't even aimed at the Iowa. He just kind of... Well, he had the torpedoes loaded. There was nothing available to shoot at. I don't think the Iowa was even visible when he launched them. It was just, dump the torpedoes in the water, cross my fingers, you never know your luck. And he got lucky. The Osterjotland spotted again. The Nebraska is actually using the dive bombers here. Okay, good. But here comes the Jean-Bart B. The Osterjotland's gone undetected. The Jean-Bart B is YOLOing hard here, and this is going to be a problem for Casper, because that's a fast-moving battleship, and, well, you can see the torpedo aiming track. He's not going to be able to get him through the gap to the right of the screen. He's going to have to wait for him to cross all the way over here and hope he's not paying attention. The Osterjotland is back up, but because Casper is now spotted, it's not actually the Osterjotland or the Jean-Bart B that's the biggest problem. He's within secondary gun battery range of the Bismarck, and the Bismarck secondaries are not funny. I mean, the Jean-Bart B secondaries can and are hitting them as well, but if the Osterjotland starts paying attention to him, and it is, he's going to lose a lot of health. He's returning fire at the Osterjotland, but he's definitely not coming off ahead in this gunfight. Now would be an excellent time, after having your engines knocked out, using the damage control, and then having your engines knocked out again. Yes, now would... Maybe he left that a little too late to use the smoke. And he may have even missed the Jean-Bart B with those torpedoes, because he's slowed, and at the very worst, he's only going to take 1. The Osterjotland is now blind firing, and still hitting him. The Nebraska's actually picked a good time to come out and try to clap the Jean-Bart B's broadside with his main battery guns, but, well, doesn't appear to have been very effective. There's the radar. Okay. I can't help but feel that Casper made a couple of misplays here, mostly with his consumable use. He was way too slow to use that smoke. Oh, the Jean-Bart B's killed the Sovietsky Soyuz. Not only did those 2 guys stop Casper's entire team from taking this cap, oh, and the Nebraska's now giving broadside to the Bismarck and getting clapped in the process. But yes, not only did these 2 guys prevent Casper's entire team from flipping this cap for 9 minutes, the Jean-Bart B made a YOLO suicide rush, didn't die, took out the Sovietsky Soyuz. The Nebraska gets the Osterjotland, although more through luck than judgment, because it was his secondaries that did it for him. However, he's still given a flat broadside to the Bismarck, who is continuing to clap him, and it's the fires that were set by the Osterjotland that actually end up sinking the Nebraska. So there's a flesh wound award for him. To be completely fair to the Nebraska, though, he saw that coming. He knew he was never going to survive that. He did get his dive bombers away, which is the last useful and possibly the first useful thing that he could do, because he manages to take out the Jean-Bart B. Hooray! And then they lose the Ismo. So Casper, on very low health, now only has one surviving teammate, the Rune over there, against 3 enemies. And one of them's a radar cruiser. Yay, and 2 battleships. Now the Rune's a good ship, but it is not over-endowed with an abundance of armour. It is very fragile as heavy cruisers go. It's got good firepower, but it can't take a hit. The Dmitry Donskoy, of course, while everybody was busy over here, has flipped the cap circle at Alpha, the one that Casper, well, he didn't really lose anything doing it. I don't think he took any damage from anybody. He just murdered the Yugamo, flipped the cap, and then sailed over here to help the rest of his team handle 2 ships. And technically it worked, because they handled those 2 ships. It just cost them 4 ships in return. And here comes the Iowa, who caught those torpedoes earlier. So Casper has dumped the torpedoes in the gap between those 2 islands in the rough general direction of the Iowa. Now, the Iowa can see the team list as well as anybody else, so he knows there is 1 destroyer and 1 heavy cruiser remaining. And both of them have torpedoes. Surely the Iowa isn't going to be dumb enough to sail into the torpedoes a second time. Surely he's going to wait for the rest of his team before he YOLOs straight in to 2 known torpedo threats. Nah. There he goes. There's the high caliber award, and there's the smoke. Although, I mean, the Iowa secondaries, you know, we're not talking Massachusetts here or anything. It's not really the Iowa that he's worried about here. It's the Dmitry Donskoy behind him and just inside shooting range. A single salvo from that thing could very easily kill Casper outright. Now Casper's in smoke and the Rune is hiding behind an island, so nobody actually has physical line of sight to the Iowa. And the Iowa is about to go undetected, but that's what the radar's for. There he is. He's used his damage control to extinguish the fires, get some more fires set. He did actually manage to dodge the Rune's torpedoes. Miracles do happen. But, yeah, no, that was completely pointless, completely predictable, and he's now completely dead. Right, Bismarck, Dmitry Donskoy. And the Donskoy is getting awfully close, and it does have radar, and that is a very obvious smokescreen. The Rune's taken a battering and has managed to stay alive, but is on low health, and he's not going to want to risk exposing himself unnecessarily. Meanwhile, Casper is well inside the radar range of that Dmitry Donskoy. And he was hiding in a very, very obvious smokescreen, so has very wisely chosen to get the hell out of there and out of line of fire of both of the 2 remaining enemy ships. His torpedoes are ready to go, but he didn't really have a perfect firing solution on either of them. He probably won't hit the Donskoy with either of those, unless the Donskoy continues on the same course and slows down. But they're loaded, you may as well launch them, and right on schedule, there's the Donskoy's radar, which would be bad news for both Casper and the friendly Rune if they weren't both hiding out of line of sight. There go the torpedoes. Actually, there go the Rune's torpedoes as well, and he's caught the Bismarck. Oh, and he's got the Donskoy with them as well. He did exactly what he needed to do in order to hit those torpedoes. Didn't hit all of them, but hit enough. The Bismarck took a massive clapping from the Rune, probably also flooding. Well, we'll never know. There was some great shots there from the Rune, taking advantage of the low health enemy and clapping the bejesus out of him. That just leaves the Dmitry Donskoy, who also suffered at least 1 torpedo hit, and whom we know has no radar available, at least not immediately, because it will be on cooldown if he has any charges left. Now, don't throw it away here, boys. You've got no cap circles. The Donskoy has just flipped the final cap. The Rune's saying there in chat, I'm dead. And, well, yeah, you're only dead if he hits you. So, don't let him see you. Don't let him get a clear shot. There's the radar. Perfect use of radar this time. They've got the Donskoy sandwiched between them. He needs to kill both of them to win. They only need to kill him. And while the Donskoy might have been able to take one of them out, he's not going to, because he had his guns pointing in Casper's direction, and Casper isn't dumb enough to sail out from behind the island and get spotted, allowing the Rune to take what isn't actually a risk, get some shots out, because the Donskoy's guns were pointing the other way, and Casper finishes him off. None of which, of course, would have been possible if it wasn't for the near-perfect coordination teamwork and use of consumables between those two surviving ships, Casper and a teammate in Arun who must have been sweating bullets when he realised that he had 2 battleships to take on, as well as another radar cruiser. But yeah, they did it, and extremely well done to the both of them. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.